If you've followed this channel for any time at all, you will know that I've spent quite a lot of time fixing this car, but today it's time for the modification that I've wanted to do forever, and I'm really excited. The modification in question is one of these. It's a K&N Induction kit. This cost a lot of money, and I'm hoping that this makes this sound a lot better. But before we start any of that, this car is due for an oil and filter change, so we're going to start with that first. Okay, that is the car jacked up. Let's just get this oil change done. The oil has almost drained, as you can see, but there is a bit more of an interesting discovery. You can see that's quite wet, and it goes all the way up there. I think potentially when I did this drive shaft a while ago, it may or may not have seated correctly, or that's historic. I can't remember if I wiped that and cleaned that beforehand. I'm hoping I didn't. Otherwise, we have a problem with this drive shaft, which is not great because it's not easy to get out at all. Anyway, that oil has basically drained. Let's do the filter, and then we can do the fun stuff. In my infinite wisdom, I have left the oil filter elsewhere, and I don't have it on me. And I've obviously drained the car of oil already, so I can't drive this thing anywhere. So I'm going to fill it up, and I'm going to cheat a little bit and do the oil filter afterwards. I know that's probably not the right thing to do, but hey, we're in this situation now. Okay, oil change done-ish. But now it's time for the intake, which is the fun bit. And before we start anything, let's get a quick sound check of this one. That sounds pretty boring in my opinion. So this has to come off, which I'm told is quite a lot of fun, in inverted commas. We'll start with the battery, and then we'll take this crossover pipe off, because I do actually have a new turbo to crossover tube as well, which should give us a nice bit of turbo noise as well. We're going to start with the battery, as I said, and then see what goes from there. I think I also have to undo this ECU cover and get the ECU off, so I'm going to do that as well. By the way guys, this is not a how-to. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just making it up as I go along and hoping that it's right. So if you are following along at home, please don't. I'm not kidding, but taking this stupid cover off took like 20 minutes because I was using a screwdriver with this on it, and I dropped it and it fell on the under tray. But it's off, and all it requires is basically just stab a screwdriver in there and then pry it off. And now we should be able to take this ECU out, he says. Okay, that's one. Oh, oh no. I've just snapped this ECU clip. I just snapped it. Oh, brilliant. That's gonna like flap around now, isn't it? Oh. Okay, right, we are in trouble now.
After managing to get that clip off, I started wondering if taking on this job was actually worth it, because all the signs were telling me to just quit.
We dropped that screwdriver, we've broken this clip, everything's just going wrong. It's free. Now is the hard part of actually getting it out. I've seen some tutorials which say I need to disconnect this engine mount, which I kind of don't want to do. I'm going to try it without, but worst case scenario, I guess that is the route we're going to have to go down. What a stupid design. Honestly, this is the thickest piece of engineering I've ever seen. I think we're gonna have to move that engine mount. There's no other way of doing it. That engine mount is loose. Should be able to move the engine freely, which I can. Now, it's time for round 2. So let's see how far we get. Oh, well, we kind of broke it, but I think past the point of caring. I'm never doing that again. Not for love nor money. I'm never doing that again. I am gonna do this engine mount up as well before I forget. We'll have to talk that up later on, but that's in. Nice. The eagle-eyed among you will notice that I have an ECU here, and I also have an ECU here. Now this ECU actually came with the intake itself, and I'm told by the seller on eBay that this ECU is mapped and running about 295 horsepower. Unfortunately, it won't work on my car for several reasons. A, it's not coded, and B, even if it was coded, I wouldn't be making anywhere close to that figure because the gentleman who I bought it off also had downpipe, intercooler, the whole lot, and I have none of that yet. So we're going to swap these two over and put my ECU on the new intake. There we go, one intake with my ECU installed. This next job is a bit annoying, and it's the reason why I won't actually be able to finish this job today, probably, but it's this intake. You can see it is absolutely filthy in here, and I've bought some proper K&N cleaner, intake cleaner, and oil to re-oil it. Which means I have to clean this and let it dry and then oil, but it's like 6 o'clock in the evening right now, and it'll probably take a few hours to dry, and I don't want to be doing the job in the dark. So we're going to clean this now, and then probably tomorrow is when we'll pick this all back up and get it all stitched back together. I've decided that instead of faffing around with cleaning the intake for now, I'm going to focus on getting this crossover tube off, and then hopefully getting the turbo to crossover pipe off as well. It should be a little bit easier than what the airbox was, but I don't want to get my hopes up. So let's start with that for now. And already there's a problem because I can't access that. Oh no.
The challenge was getting the clamp for the turbo to crossover pipe off the turbo inlet. Access is really limited. To anyone doing this job at home, I recommend using a short 1/4 inch socket and a small ratchet.
How the hell is anyone with fingers or hands or anyone bigger than an ant supposed to get to that? Oh, okay. I think we have got it off enough. Oh, come on. I can see it moving. Don't be a Oh, oh, oh. Oh, yes, yes. Now, I know a lot of people on YouTube will make things seem a lot easier than they are, but in reality, this wasn't too bad. Once you get a small 1/4 inch drive ratchet on that bolt, you can just spin it and then just wiggle it off. Access is really, really limited, so if you have small fingers, you're very well off in this situation. You can actually see, however, I don't know how well that comes up on camera, but this pipe is actually baffled, and so it removes all the noise that we want, all the turbo noise, all the goodness. And so that is going straight in the bin. And what is actually going to be replacing it is this, a Barbarian Racing turbo to crossover tube. Now the good thing with this is it's obviously silicon, and that has benefits which I wish I could tell you about, but I just hear that it's good. If you're in the comment section and you can tell us why this silicon is better than your horrible old plastic, I'd be interested to know too. But it looks a lot better, and it's going to give us the cool turbo noises that we want. That has to go in there, something like that. For now though, I'm going to turn my attention to this, because if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that these little gold things are just peeling off and look horrible. And I tried doing the whole of the crossover tube, but I just couldn't be arsed. So now that it's off the car, we're going to give this the treatment it deserves and wrap the whole thing in gold. It probably makes very little difference, but it looks cool. Okay, so I've just tried the first bit. That looks disgusting. So we're going to just, I think, I'll just do this straight section and then leave the rest, because that is absolutely horrible. That's already looking 1,000 times better. We've moved away from the car and into my garden for the next bit, which is actually cleaning this air filter. I don't think it's too difficult. All I have to do is apply that cleaner over there and then let it dry once I wash it, and then put that oil on to kind of seal it. But we'll find out what it's actually like. Knowing me, I'll probably mess it up. That has been sprayed up. We're going to let it sit for 10 or 12 minutes. We'll wash it and then we'll oil it. The filter has been cleaned twice now because it was actually really filthy. It doesn't look perfect, but it's a lot better than what it was. Now it's time to apply this filter oil, which will give it that K&N red colour that you always see on K&N filters, and then hopefully we can get this installed. I don't know how much I'm actually supposed to apply, so I'm being a bit liberal with it, I guess. The filter itself has sat for around 20 minutes once I've oiled it, and now it's time to jack the car up again for like the 50th time and install the damn thing. And I'm hoping you don't run into any more lovely issues. This is a pro tip. Always use Vaseline on these surfaces. It'll just make them slide in way easier. Okay, so after a bit of wrestling, that intake crossover pipe is on. And pro tip for you, if you are doing this, make sure you have plenty of access both from the top and from underneath the car, because then you'll be able to see if it's on. And like I said, use plenty of lube. Second pro tip for you is don't over oil your K&N filter. You can see I placed it on the under tray and I got quite a few stains because I've put way too much oil in this. So don't be as liberal as me. But finally, that is on. That can go back on. The induction box can go on, and then that can go on last. Again, plenty of Vaseline on this male face to go into our crossover tube, and hopefully this one should be a lot easier because it's quite accessible, to be honest. Or maybe it won't be easy. So at this point, you're probably wondering why this crossover pipe here has come back off. and I'm looking a bit frustrated while staring deep into the engine bay, and the reason is because I actually realised that the clamp that holds this crossover pipe on is, well, it wasn't secure at all, and it was way too high up to actually clamp down on the pipe onto the turbo. And so I've spent, and I'm not joking, I've spent the last 45 minutes trying to get this clamp seated right, and I think I'm there. I don't want to jinx things, but it does look all right, and I think it should clamp down and mean this pipe doesn't actually pop off while I inevitably floor it once I've got this intake on. I'm going to mess around with it for a little bit longer, and then hopefully we'll be able to get back to where we were about 45 minutes to an hour ago. Of course, the other problem is that this area is actually where a lot of the coolant pipes and the oil pipes and things for the turbo are, so using a screwdriver trying to pry everything into shape and place is actually kind of a stupid idea. I've nearly stabbed myself and some coolant pipes like 3 or 4 times, but luckily I think I've got away with it, and that is now in place and it won't go anywhere. At least I'm hoping it won't. Okay, turns out I was wrong. I tightened it all down, or at least I think I did. I gave it a good pull and it's just come straight back out. This is really testing my patience now. Really, really testing my patience. I have finally managed to get that secure. I did have to cheat a little bit and use the clamp from this side, which is slightly bigger. The old one over here, it just simply was too small to fit because this is slightly thicker than the stock one. So I will have to order a new one for this, probably zip tie it for the time being. We can move on to part 2 of this, which is actually fitting the induction box, I guess you could call it. Now, from my understanding, this should bolt in somewhere, but I don't know where, which is great. Because otherwise it'll just rattle about. But I'm going to connect it all up and then see how it sort of looks. I do of course need to put this on first, which we shall do now. And then connect this guy in. We are tantalizingly close to our first start with this new intake induction kit installed. It's been a nightmare to do, but I'm sure it'll be completely worth it once I hear those turbo noises. I did lose a bolt that holds this in place, so I'm gonna have to find a new one. Unfortunate, but oh well. All we have to do now is obviously tighten everything up, because it's all in place. I need to find out some more permanent solution for holding this all together. We'll have to do that at some other point, although I shouldn't think it'd be too hard. But all we have to do now is put this in, and then we're good to start the car. Whew, okay, first start. I get incredibly nervous about these things, but let's do it. All right. No warning lights on the dash, which is always a good sign. I'm gonna give it literally a minute while I clear away to warm up, and then we'll give it some revs. Overall, I think that is a bit of a mixed bag, really. I was expecting, or was hoping for, some more turbo noises and, you know, fluttering, but Unfortunately, we didn't get that, but we do have, from what I can tell, some more induction sort of noise, which you'd kind of expect. I think I'll really have to drive the car to really appreciate it, because right now I'm not 100% sold, and this was quite a lot of money, so I'm hoping it'll grow on me. If you've enjoyed this video and seen, you know, you've liked me struggling to install this from start to finish, I hope you'll consider liking the video and subscribing to see what I've got next in store for this.